BJ Peters here and from stampinbj.com, and today is October 31st. Yes, it's Halloween, but there's a big thing coming tomorrow, and that is November 1st. We get to get the Stampin' Blends as customers. I am super excited. I've been playing. I highly recommend them, and I want to share some tips and things with you guys so that you're prepared for when you get to start ordering them tomorrow. So I'm doing this Facebook Live. We'll see how it goes. I don't have a script, but I've got so much that I want to share. So I'm going to flip the camera around. You're going to see the ceiling for a little bit, and then you'll see what we're going to talk about today. I'm excited. Hang tight. Here we go. Sorry about that. And let me flip this. And you got my hand there for a second, but I think we're good to go here. Let me slide this over. Thanks for bearing with me, everybody. All right, I think we're almost there. All right, I think we'll call that good. So you see what I've got on my table here, these lovely, lovely markers. I'm just, honestly, I'm thrilled. I can't even tell you how thrilled I am at this collection from Stampin' Up. So they are called Stampin' Blends. I will tell you that there's 12 colors, and they coordinate with the Stampin' Up colors. So Crumb Cake, Old Olive, Night of Navy. This is Rich Raspberry, Bermuda Bay, Pool Party. This one is Calypso Coral, Cherry Cobbler, Pink Pirouette, Pumpkin Pie, Daffodil Delight, and Smoky Slate. You also have a color lifter. This is a must. And then you've got a ivory and a bronze, which are meant to be skin tones, but I've used them in other ways, and you're going to love that. You will find on my website this brochure, Stampin' Blends, and if you've been at one of my classes lately, you've probably seen it as well. You can download it under catalogs. It shows you the whole line of the Stampin' Blends. It gives you some tips and things like that right here as well. And it actually has a Color Me Happy kit that you can get with it. It includes this kit with the fun foil envelopes. I like the foil. A stamp set, and this is kind of what it looks like. There are 16 cards, so 4 of each. So you get a little practice, and you don't have to worry about your format, your layout, all of that. And then here is the ordering information right here for the colors. So you can see that each one, like I said, comes in a light and dark, and you can purchase it in a combo pack. I recommend the combo pack, but I'm very happy, and I'll tell you, very happy that they offer them individually too. So as I was getting ready for coming up for Stampin' Up's onstage event next week, I made 50 of a card, and I guess I don't have it right here. I'll grab it in a minute. Well, you know what? One of the markers that I'm using a lot just seems to be might wear out sooner if I'm using it for 50 cards like that. So I can purchase that one individually if I wanted. So I'm happy about that. So tomorrow, I will tell you that when I ordered this, I didn't want to put in all these individual numbers. There is on this brochure, right over here, you're going to want to pay attention to this because you're going to need a couple things from here. I'll pull this up to the camera. This is where you'll see the marker collection, so you get all the 26 colors, which includes the ivory and bronze, and the color lifter. One number to put in. This number right here, 147475. So you'll want to do that. And you for sure need the color lifter. The other for sure thing that you're going to need is the Memento ink, because this is what you need to stamp your outline in. So if you don't have that, make sure you get that ordered as well. If you're interested in the kit, to kind of help you get started, here is the kit information, and here's the other supplies that they suggest. I would say for sure that you're going to want some of the thick cardstock, and I'll show you why as we go through the video, but you're going to want the thick cardstock. These are alcohol markers. They are made to saturate your paper. What does that mean? If you're using thin paper, it's going to soak through. If you're using some of the thick Whisper white paper, you will still see it on the back side, but it's not going to soak your whole area. All right. So there's that brochure. Again, you can download it at stampinbj.com underneath the catalogs tab. All right. So here's our lovelies. Just honestly, I'm super thrilled. I'm really happy that we've got a very good quality coloring tool, and there's a lot of features and benefits to these that I want to point out to you. So I'll just grab one here. We'll grab the dark rich raspberry. So it shows the color right here, rich raspberry and dark, okay? And as with Stampin' Up's Stampin' Right markers, you've got a skinny line here signifying kind of the small end, and you've got a fat line here signifying the marker end. These caps, they're alcohol markers. They have to go on tight. So they've got grips here that you can pull apart. And here's what the small end looks like, if you can see that. And you can see the inside of the cap is going to cover it tightly. And when you put it back on, you do want to hear that click. Okay. Here's the fat tip. And when you put it back on, again, you want to hear that click. Okay, so that's what the markers look like. And the color lifter, what this really is, I want to say color lifter is maybe an okay name for it, because it does lift the color. It adds a different shade to all of the colors, but it's really filled with alcohol. These are alcohol markers. They will dry out. But again, if you take care of them, they're going to last you a long time. The nibs, which are what the tips are called, are really a high quality tip, and you can kind of see it. I'm not bending the tip at all when I'm pushing it on my finger here. And you see how much I've used mine. Well, you'll see in a minute. And you can see that my nibs or my tip is not discolored at all. It's all white. So that works out really well. You'll want to store these horizontally so that your alcohol ink is evenly distributed with both ends. They work well in our wide Stampin' Up! Cases. I think you can fit like, I don't know, 9, 10 of them in there. I have a little other case that I'm going to be storing mine in. So that's the way they look. I'm going to slide these up here and show you some of the fun things that I've been working on. So this is one of the cards that I've done that I think I've shared it on my blog. This is Merry Little Christmas Designer Series paper, and it comes black and white. I used the Bermuda Bay Stampin' Blend and colored it in the white, and look at, I've got something that matches my Bermuda Bay color. Love that. Love that. Here is a Calypso Coral one, and I've used this several times. This is the Remarkable You stamp set, but you can kind of really see the color variation there. And I'm not an artist, folks, not an artist at all, but these blend so well, and they make me feel like an artist even when I'm not. This one I want to be sure and share with you, because this actually comes from that Color Me Happy bundle that is in that Stampin' Blends brochure. You can see the variation on the thanks, and then this flower is in there as well. And you can see how I've colored in some of those flowers and showcased some of the gorgeous colors that are in our Stampin' Blends. You've seen this one on my website. This is Falling Flowers. Again, just really showcasing the beauty of the variation in color. Just that it just pops right off the card. This is the Color Me Happy, no, Just Add Color, I'm sorry. The name of this Designer Series paper is Just Add Color. This is actually part of the Designer Series paper that is on sale that ends today. And you can see again, the gorgeous color. So I've just gone over the paper as it comes to us and added the color. Here's that same Just Add Color cardstock, and I've colored it in fall colors again. And I'm using the lines on here to add the little bit darker shade. And you can see here that I've gone around the edge of this Everyday Label Punch with the pumpkin pie Stampin' Blend. Hard time here tonight. I'm sorry about that. I wanted to share this card for sure too. This one I think is just so gorgeous. So maybe one of the things you're thinking about is I can't get them all, so I'm not going to get the vanilla and the bronze. This card may change your mind because this is the vanilla and the bronze. And as I'm tipping it, can you see that I've added the clear Wink of Stella to the top? Oh my gosh. Which is alcohol in itself, the clear Wink of Stella is, and it just brings out that color. Look at that. Very nice. I love that as a sympathy card. Oh, I can't remember the name of this stamp set, but there's a hello and a thanks. And you can see here how I blended two different colors as I was playing, kind of the daffodil and the calypso coral. And actually, if you look at these leaves really close, you'll see that there's an undertone of yellow. I actually put yellow underneath before I added the old olive, and it's fabulous. This one is another one. This one is actually pumpkin pie, but it doesn't look like pumpkin pie. And that's because I've layered colors together. So I believe on this one, I put a light gray on the bottom and then added the pumpkin pie on top. And the other thing I want to point out on this one is you see this little highlight down here that really helps it stand out? You see that? That is because I added just a small little line of the gray outside the lines. It's okay to color outside the lines sometimes. And then kind of blended it in. So then it's like a shadow, so it really stands out. Pretty cool, huh? All right, well, I have a couple of projects kind of ready to go here that I want to share with you a little bit. So this is actually that Thick Whisper white cardstock that I talked to you about. And this is a flower from the Remarkable You. And I wish I could zoom in just a little bit, but I can't. But I have a plan about that. I have a plan. So I'm going to choose the pumpkin pie. I've done a few cards to show you some of the colors. So I've got the light and the dark pumpkin pie here. And I think one of the tips that I have for you is start light and work dark. There is no right or wrong way. If you want to start dark and work to light, you certainly can do that. But if you start, I tend to put on too much color. So by starting a little bit lighter, you can always come in and add more color to make it darker, but you can't, it's harder to take it away. You can take a little bit away with the color lifter, but you just can't take it all away. So that's kind of the advice that I have for you in that way. All right, I want to raise this up a little bit. So hang tight while I kind of finagle something here. I've got an idea. This may help us a little bit here. It's got a little bit of an edge to it, but I want to get this closer to the camera so I can really show you these markers. I want you to be able to see the detail. All right, that might be a little bit better. All right, let's give this a shot. Okay, so here goes my pumpkin pie. I'm actually this time going to start with the marker tip end. And I'm going to come in and I'm just going to start kind of from the bottom where I think it's going to be darker. And if you see what I'm doing, I'm just kind of flicking it out. I'm not necessarily coloring in the whole thing. I'm just kind of flicking. Just kind of a flick motion. Because I think that if the light was shining on this, the colors up here would be lighter. Okay. Now I'm going to come in with my darker pumpkin pie, and this time I'm actually going to come in with the smaller end. And that's because I tend to put too much color on, and you can kind of see that I'm doing that same kind of motion, and I'm using the lines that are in the stamp itself to help guide me where I'm going to add a little bit darker color. So along the edges, and I'm going to turn my project as I go so that I'm not kind of doing this kind of thing, because I feel like I have better control when I'm doing it like that. Get some along here. a little bit along the edge. I'm super excited about these markers, if you couldn't tell. Sorry if I'm overwhelming you guys with my excitement, but you know, sometimes I just can't contain myself. So I have been working on a couple of things that I can't wait to share with you. All right, so now I'm going to put that cap back on and make sure that it clicks nice. Now I'm going to come back in with my lighter Stampin' Right marker, and I'm going to again use, Stampin' Blend, and I'm going to use the brush tip end again. This time I'm going to kind of work in a circular motion because that's going to help blend these colors together and give it that dimension that we're looking for. And I'm not pressing very hard at all. These are alcohol inks, so they're getting the paper wet, they're getting the paper saturated, and what you'll want to know is that if you're coloring in a big image, you're going to want to just work in one area at a time, because your paper is going to stay wet for about 15-20 seconds at the most. And during that time, it's going to be the easiest time to move your color around. So you don't want to let it dry too much before you come back in. You'll have to, see if you get it wet again, maybe use your color lifter, but it's easier when it's wet to begin with. So you can see that I've got some dimension here. Pull that up for you. Got a little bit of dimension. I'd like to have a little bit more. So I'm going to do this. Actually, I want to show you one thing. Let's say that I was going to color outside the lines here. So let me show you what that looks like. You see how I went outside the line right here? I'm going to show you how I'm going to try and get that inside the line. If you think of the alcohol markers as something that is going to push. So if you make a puddle, you know how the ripples go out. I grew up on a lake. That makes it easiest for me. So I'm actually not coloring onto the color, but I'm using my color lifter here, and I'm coloring outside of that line, outside of where I have that. And as this begins to dry, and we'll check on it in a minute, but you can kind of see how it's pushing that color now right back into where I wanted it. Okay, we'll check on it again. Now with this, I want to add some more dimension by using this color lifter. So again, I'm going to use a flicking motion, and we determined earlier that the top of these petals was going to be the lightest. So again, I'm starting from the top, and I'm just kind of flicking down and kind of pulling some of that color off. So, and maybe I'll pull a little bit off in here where the petals are bigger. Oh, I got some outside the line there. Let me color outside there. Ooh, that one went in really well. I don't know if you can see that. You see this area right here? How that kind of went back into the line, how I pushed it in. Had a little bit of color lifting in here. Again, working in small places, using the flicking motion seems to work so well for me. Just kind of clean that off. Let me show you where we're at here. So you can you see all that dimension? Seriously, folks, I am not a trained artist, but these markers make me feel like an artist. And remember what I said about making sure it's saturated? This is the back of that thick Whisper white cardstock. And you want that. That's what's going to give you that consistent color, that good dimension, good rock solid color. All right, let's use the old olive here and get I'm going to come outside the line so you can see the color here, because this is kind of a solid stem. And this time, this leaf is so small, I'm actually just going to use the light color, and I'm just going to come over this area and add some layers of color. And when I do that, I still get that dimension with just using one of the markers. Love, love, love these Stampin' Blends. Let me show you some of the other colors that I've done these cards in. So this one is the Pink Pirouette. And you may be wondering, if you are familiar with our Stampin' Up! Catalog, how did this happen? Because we do not have ribbon in the pink pirouette color. Well, let me show you how that works. What I've done is I've actually used my silicone mat. And if you guys watch me at all, you know that I love my silicone mat for many things. And this is another one of those. So we wanted, let's see, we just did a pumpkin pie one. Let's add a pumpkin pie ribbon. So this is that 1/8 inch ribbon that we have in white. And I'm just going to go down and I'm going to add using some color using the side of my Stampin' Right marker. And you have to add it to both sides here to make sure you kind of get a consistent color. You know, I've been a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator for almost 15 years, and I remember coloring ribbon before and then waiting for it to dry and waiting for it to dry and waiting for it to dry. But that's not the case with these alcohol markers. It's dry already. And look at that, very consistent color. What it does is it makes it just a little bit stiffer, but it's not too stiff that I can't make a bow here, and I might have cut this maybe a little bit short to do that, but you can still make your bow and call it good. Let's see if I can get this one. Haha. Ooh, maybe. There we go. Yay. There we go. Look at that. So now I've got a pumpkin pie bow, even though we don't have pumpkin pie ribbon. Pretty cool, huh? I love that. All right, let's set that off to the side. So I showed you this pink pirouette one. Here is Bermuda Bay, the same thing, and I'll bring it up. Look at that nice dimension again. And these folks are our pearls, our basic pearls. And again, because this is an alcohol ink and it dries fast, I can color them with any of my Stampin' Blends. You know, I've a few years ago when we were introducing alcohol markers, I went to Copic school because they're, or Copic, I don't know, however you want to say it, but they're another alcohol marker. And what I found was that it was hard to understand what color went with what, so I could do the shading, and I kind of left totally confused. So one of the big features and benefits that I see of the Stampin' Blends is that they're in the Stampin' Up! Color palette, and there's a light and a dark for each one, and so I don't have to do any guessing. I can just play and create and not have to worry about and not have to think about it so much. I like that. Like that personally. I love it, my crafting. So here's the cherry cobbler one, and you can see I've added a little wink of Stella here, and again used the pearls and did them in Old Olive this time. Here is the rich raspberry, and I've mounted it on our sweet sugar plum to kind of bring out that purplish color a little bit. Did the ribbon, and here's our dimensionals, or excuse me, our basic rhinestones, and I did them in the Old Olive. Cute. Here's what Daffodil Delight looks like. Look at that dimension. You know, that again, this one you really see that the top is a little bit lighter and darker as you kind of get down to the more core of the flower. Night of Navy may not be too dark for a flower. I like the blue flower. Bless my mom. Rest in peace. She was a Navy fan. And here's the Calypso Coral one. Pretty cool. Again, I colored the rhinestones this time in Calypso Coral. So those are some of the things that I've done. I know there's more around here somewhere, but I'm getting ready because I'm going to be sharing some really fun things with you. What I want everybody to feel so happy and so successful with these that I've got a tip sheet for you that is almost done. And anyone who purchases the Stampin' Blends from me is going to get that very valuable tip sheet. I wanted to color one more flower while we're together here, and I just picked this one. I think this stamp set's called Birthday Blooms. And notice that I wanted to share the layering of the color here. So notice I started on the leaves with the yellow. So by adding different colors and putting colors on top of each other, you actually can create different shades of the same color or of our colors if you want. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to layer in some of the light old olive here. Again, I'm using that flicking motion. I don't care that if I get it all colored, but I don't want to add too much color. I work better when I can control it and add more color as I go along. Now here's my dark, and again, just adding little bits of it here and there, and maybe a little bit more towards the bottom. There we go. So now I'll come back to the light, small area. I'm going to use the small end, and I'm going to use that circular motion again this time, and I'm going to color that in. You know, and I'll show you this as I get done. You'll see a little bit of the yellow peek through if you look really close, but I think that's okay. So here, look at that. Can you see the variation? See the color? I don't even think I need to use much color lifter on that. I think we're good to go. Now, a little bit of a tip here. I want the center of this flower to have some yellow in it. Remember that I said that this alcohol was going to stay wet for maybe 15-20 seconds. If I want that to blend in like I did with that one card, this one, I'm going to want to work at it while it's still wet so that it kind of blends together. So I'm going to grab that. I'm going to use the Calypso Coral here. And I'm just going to kind of come in and use the flicking motion coming out from the center, getting some that I'll be able to move around here. All right. And then here, let's add in some of that dark Calypso Coral, using the lines that are here. Dabbing a little bit here and there. There's a technique that I did a long time ago called pointillism, and that I kind of did that a little bit. Can you see how I dotted some of that, the darker color in there, so that I have that variation? So when you do that, it's just a light touch, but it adds just a little bit different shade. Oh my gosh. So if you're hearing my puppy, I am sorry. His buddy is playing out back, and of course he thinks he needs to go out and play. So I'm thinking I'm getting pretty happy with this. Let me show you where I'm at. You see how some of that yellow just kind of blended in there, and you can kind of see how some of that dotted dark is there. Let me pull a little bit away from the edges here. Again, just pulling in with my color lifter. Should be a color mover. I think that's good. And as it dries, you're going to see that it actually changes a little bit more. It's not going to be dry right now, but it's going to change more as it continues to evolve and dry. All right, I also wanted to show you a little bit about that shading that I have done. So I've got my light smoky slate here, and I'm going to add just a little bit right underneath here, and maybe just a little bit right underneath these leaves right there. Okay. Now I'm going to come back in with my color lifter, and I'm using the fine tip again, and I'm going to get wet the paper outside. I don't want to get into the gray much, and I certainly don't want to get into that Calypso, but I want to disperse that gray a little bit and create that shadow, because it adds that dimension. Don't want to get into the green, but I'm saturating the paper and I'm creating that ripple, And that's what's taking my alcohol ink and then moving it around. See, I'm working here in little circles and sometimes doing a little bit of flicking. That's what I'm doing. Little circles, a little bit of flicking so I can move that color in, and actually going to go into the leaf a little bit. So here we go. I'll pull that way up so you can kind of see that. Can you see that shadow? And see how that it just kind of disappeared but still has that shadow? And then of course we have to add just a little bit of the Wink of Stella here, because it just seems like it brings out that color even more. Just going to add it in the center. I'm using that same motion, kind of that flicking motion again, and kind of going around in a circle. All right. Well, that's kind of my basics 101 that I wanted to get out to you guys tonight, because tomorrow again is ordering day. So if you order from me, what you're going to get is that really valuable tip sheet that has a lot of these tips in it, plus there's a bunch more. And then the other thing that you're going to get is, if you're local, I'm going to do a free class at the end of November. It's on my calendar, Color Me Happy, and check it out, because you're going to get some personal attention from me and get lots of practice with me right there, kind of guiding you and helping you. Remember, this is a good sign. But remember, you're going to want to protect your workspace. So tune in. There's going to be more and more videos coming up. There's a couple on my website from the past few days as well, stampinbj.com. And boy, tomorrow's a big day. Hope to see you all on the website and ordering these lovely little babies. Talk to you soon. Thanks for stopping by. Create and feel great. Bye.